Hi there, my name is Atticus Garant. I'm the executive chef at the Fairmont Plaza here in beautiful sunny Los Angeles. First and foremost, I wanted to take this quick moment to just thank you all very much for joining us, for watching, for viewing this, and supporting all that we do. Today we're going to be focusing on home-style boiled bagels. I wouldn't say New York style traditionally, but definitely something achievable at home, as well with an everything bagel spice. We'll take you through a great ratio for the spice mix, and then step-by-step video on how to make these bagels. You can modify this however you see fit, but typically sesame seeds, crispy garlic, crispy onions or shallots, flaky salt, and poppy seeds is what's going to go into the everything spice. We are going to use crispy fried garlic and crispy fried shallots. You can find those generally at a typical Asian grocer. If not, Amazon carries them. If you don't have those, onion flakes and garlic flakes will be an acceptable substitute. So we're going to just take, really simply, a tablespoon of all of the crunchy bits and then a half tablespoon of the flaky salt. So I'll take a tablespoon of our sesame seeds, tablespoon of the black sesame seeds, tablespoon of our crunchy garlic, maybe a little bit more because it's delicious, and then a tablespoon of our crispy shallots. We're going to give them just a light crunch as we put them into our bowl here. That way they're not too big on the garnish of the bagel. Poppy seeds, tablespoon as well, and then our flaky salt, about a half tablespoon or more if you like it a little saltier. From there, we're just gonna mix that up nicely. And there you have it, everything bagel spice. Great, so for our first step in making our bagels, we are going to bloom our yeast. And we're gonna help that yeast bloom with a little bit of sugar here as well, which will speed up the active yeast. So we have 445 grams of 95 Fahrenheit water. To that, we're going to add in 15 grams of dry active yeast and 35 grams of sugar. Once that's in, we're going to give it a good whisk, make sure that it's well incorporated, and then we'll allow that to bloom for 10 minutes before starting the next step. So now while our yeast is blooming, we're going to get ahead with the next step. We're going to take 760 grams of our bread flour and add it to the mixing bowl of our KitchenAid. To that, we're going to add our diastatic malt powder. That is 4 grams. If you do not have diastatic malt powder, no problem. It just helps with the flavor of the bagel. As well, we're gonna add in our salt and then just mix by hand to incorporate. All right, so it's been 10 minutes and our yeast has bloomed quite a bit. You can see the foam on the top. Now we're gonna take our whisk and give it one more quick mix before we add it into our dry. Now that you have it all incorporated, we're gonna turn the mixer onto slow or the lowest speed and just allow your liquid to slowly incorporate. Great, so once all of your liquid has been incorporated, you want to quickly just wipe down and scrape the sides of the bowl, make sure that everything is incorporated before going into the final mix. Make sure that all the little dry bits from the bottom are picked up. Now that the sides have been scraped down, you're ready to go on to the final mix. You're going to want to mix it on a medium-low speed for 8 to 10 minutes until a smooth, tight ball is formed. So just before your dough finishes mixing, we want to line a bowl where it's going to proof with a little bit of olive oil. Butter will work as well. So we're just going to squeeze a bit of olive oil in there and just reserve that until the dough is finished mixing. Great, so it's been about 8.5 minutes. The dough is nice and smooth. We're gonna remove it from the bowl now in the mixer and shape it into a tight ball. No extra flour needed here. We're just gonna do this all with our hands. So we're gonna take our dough and we're going to just gently pull it around, folding it back in on side of itself. And then at that point, we'll start to use the bench to help us tighten it up a little bit more. Just doing a circular motion here, using my hand to pull the dough underneath itself. And once you have a nice tight ball, then we're going to add it back into our grease-lined bowl and give it a good shake so that it doesn't stick to the sides. We're gonna let this dough proof in the bowl here for 1.5 hours to 2 hours. It will double in size, and to be eco-friendly, instead of using plastic, we use a damp towel. Just make sure that as it's proofing, you're keeping an eye on if it's sticking to the towel or not. While your dough is proofing, a few things that we can get ready and ahead of is a pot of water. We're going to need this, a large enough pot that you can do 2, 3, or 4 bagels at a time when we blanch them. You're going to want to get a couple parchment lined sheet trays, some olive oil to put on those parchment lined sheet trays. Make sure you have your everything spice ready, as well a whisk, a brush, and an egg at room temperature. It's important that we have the egg at room temperature, as we don't want to be putting cold egg wash onto our ready to bake bagels. Great, so making the egg wash couldn't be more simple. You're going to take an egg, crack it on a flat surface to avoid getting shell into your bowl. Take a whisk and beat the egg until it's nice and smooth. All right, after an hour and a half to 2 hours, your dough should have risen twice in size. Gently pull your damp towel off. Try to avoid it sticking as much as possible. Should have come off nicely if it was nice and damp. From here, we're going to punch the dough down one time, and then just remove the dough gently from the bowl. As you can see, maybe a little bit more olive oil next time. Next, we are going to cut our dough into 12 equal portions. We're aiming for roughly 100 to 105 grams per piece. Now that you have 12 equal portions, we're going to take the dough and we're going to fold the corners in to the middle to create a tight little ball. Just keep folding until you feel it tighten up. Then from there, we're going to roll it back over, and just gently with our hand, we're going to form it using our pinky and thumb, shaping the dough, tightening the ball as we go, until we have a nice tight ball like that. For the next step, we're going to poke the holes into our bagels, and then we're going to quickly give them a blanch in just below boiling water. First, we're going to give the top just a quick dusting of flour. Then with our bench scraper, we're going to just pick up gently one of these doughs with a index finger and thumb floured. We're going to just press down in the middle of the bagel, creating a hole where we can put our finger through. And then we're just going to gently stretch that hole to the shape of our bagel. Now, our pot holds 4 bagels at one time, so I'm going to repeat that process with these other 3 doughs. Great, so now that you have your 4 bagels ready, you're going to use a spider or some type of slotted spoon to assist your bagels getting into the water. And we're going to do them just like so. Again, this should be below boiling the water. Shouldn't see any big bubbles really rolling. And then we're going to cook these for 1 minute on each side. Okay, it's been a minute. We're going to flip the bagels gently by just going in again with your spoon and flipping them over. And at the same time as well, we're going to oil our parchment lined baking tray. So just a little bit of olive oil on top of that parchment paper. It's going to give some nice coloring and flavor on the bottom of the bagels. After the bagels have cooked 1 minute on each side, we're going to remove them. Be sure to try to drain as much water as possible and lay that down onto your oil parchment lined baking sheets. Repeat this process with all the bagels until you have 12 blanched bagels. Also at this time, set your oven to 430 degrees Fahrenheit. That will be the temperature that we bake them at. So now we have our bagels that have been blanched. We're into the final stages now before baking. If you've made it this far, great job. I promise this is the easiest part. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that room temperature egg wash and you're going to lightly brush each one of the bagels here. Make sure to get that around. That's going to be really how we stick the topping to it. Great, so now we're at the final step here. If you're looking at your bagels, you're thinking, oh, these are very wrinkled. Don't worry, as they bake, they will smooth out. Now we're going to add our toppings. So just grab some of that everything bagel spice, and I like a lot on mine. Put as much or as little as you please. Again, if everything bagel spice is not your type, you could go with just poppy seed or just sesame seed or any other type of flavoring that you'd like on there. Now that all of our bagels are topped, we're ready to go. We're going to place these into a 430 degree preheated oven and cook them for 20 minutes.